Hey everyone, welcome. So today, we're going to tackle this really powerful but actually super simple concept that can literally bring your best ideas to life. We're talking about prototyping.
So you know that feeling, right? When you have this flash of brilliance, this perfect idea just pops into your head. It is crystal clear, totally obvious to you, but then the second you try to explain it to somebody, it falls apart. The words don't work, they don't do it justice, and you end up just saying, look, you just got to trust me on this. It's a good idea. Man, it is such a frustrating problem, and we've all been there.
Okay, so here's the good news. That exact problem, it has a solution. And that solution is prototyping. Think of it like this. It's the bridge that gets an idea out of your head and into the real world, where people can actually see it, touch it, and finally understand what you're talking about.
All right, so let's really dive into this. What are we actually talking about when we use the word prototype? I know it can sound kind of technical, but trust me, the main idea behind it is incredibly simple.
Okay, let's break this down. The absolute most important phrase here is low resolution. Seriously, that's the secret sauce. A prototype is not meant to be some perfect, polished, final thing. Not at all. It's meant to be quick, simple, maybe even a little rough, because its whole job is to answer one critical question. Does this thing actually solve a real person's need?
And this right here? This just nails the main goal. A prototype's #1 job, its entire reason for being, is communication. It's like a physical argument for your idea. It makes it real, something you can share, something you can get feedback on, and you can see if it actually works before you go and spend a ton of time or, a ton of money.
So the big question is, what can you prototype? And the answer is, well, pretty much anything. And this is where it gets really fun, really creative. Just for a second, forget all about fancy software or expensive materials.
I mean, sure, a prototype can be a physical model. That's the obvious one. But it can also be a mock experience. Like you could literally act out a new customer service process. Or it could be a rearranged physical space, moving desks around to test a new office layout. The possibilities are just huge. Let's start with a classic one, a digital example. You can prototype how an app is supposed to work just by making some simple, clickable screens. We're not talking about fancy graphics here, not at all. It's all about testing the core user flow. Like, does it actually make sense for a person to go from this screen to that one? Figuring that out now can literally save you thousands in development costs down the road.
But hey, it does not have to be digital. You can go completely low-tech. Let's say you're thinking about a new physical product, maybe a smartphone. You can just build a version out of cardboard. I'm serious. It costs you nothing, but right away it lets you test the ergonomics. How does it feel in your hand? Is the size right? These are super important questions you can answer in just a few minutes.
Paper sketching is another amazing, super accessible tool. Instead of booting up some complicated software, you just draw. It's an incredibly fast way to get an idea out of your head and onto paper, letting you explore like dozens of different layouts for an app or a website in a single afternoon. And what's the cost? A notepad and a pen. And this same logic applies perfectly to a full website layout. You can just use simple boxes and lines to map out where all the buttons and the text should go. And this is so valuable, not just for you, but for your entire team. It gets everyone on the same page way, way before a single expensive line of code ever gets written. And yeah, you can even prototype a toaster. I love this example because it really gets to the core idea here. It doesn't matter if it's a toaster or a coffee mug or a new kind of chair. It just doesn't matter. If you can think of it, you can build a simple, testable version of it. That is the universal power of this whole approach. Okay, so here's a really crucial point to remember. Not all prototypes are created equal. It's better to think of them as existing on a spectrum. They evolve and change as your idea gets clearer and more polished.
Yeah, think of it like an evolution. You start out at step 1, testing just the critical function. This is where you test the single most important part of your idea and literally nothing else. Okay, once that seems to work, then you move to step 2. That's the low-resolution prototype we've been talking about. Your cardboard phone or your paper sketch. And only after you've gotten tons of feedback on that do you even think about investing the time and energy to build a step 3, a final high-fidelity prototype that actually looks and feels like the real deal.
All right, so now you've got the concept, you've seen the examples, and you understand the process. The only thing left to do now is to take that next step to go from just learning about this stuff to actually doing it.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Just for a second, forget about the big, complicated projects. What's one small, simple idea?
I'm talking an app, a gadget, maybe just a better way to organize your desk. What's something you could sketch out or build with some cardboard right now, in the next 10 minutes? That's the real power of prototyping. So go on, go make your ideas real.